Hey, welcome to episode 86 of Scar Bearers. I'm Chris DT Gordon. As always, I am so excited that you're here with me today. And always with me are Nate and Britton Barron helping me out on the post-production side. You want them to work their magic on your presentations, you can reach out to them at Nate Barron. So it is December. That means that Christmas or other holidays that you might celebrate are around the corner. And if you want someone to receive a gift from you that inspires them and helps me out at the same time, frankly, you can go to chrisdtgordon.com, if I can say my own name right, and visit the Chris DT Gordon's Tag and Pop Shop, where I have some tag swag. Well, that's kind of cool. I should say that more often. Like this hat here. Well. Yeah, thanks. And I have a new line of shirts. I'm so excited based on my fabled question, what is your favorite dinosaur? I have those shirts and sweatshirts at the Tag and Pop Shop. And remember, if you go check out the Tag and Pop Shop, you buy something, you can get 20% off all of your purchases with Tag Pop 1. So go check that out. Also, you know, I also do this speaking thing. So if you want me to share my message of the attitude of gratitude with your students or organization, please reach out to me so we can start a conversation there. All right, I am joined by my new friend, Alexandrea NeSmith. Alex, how are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you. Chris, how are you? You sound happy and vibrant. I love it.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I could be doing a lot worse. And I think that goes for both of us. Something that we have in common is that we have shark bites on our legs, though I don't know about you, I've never encountered the creature. So, and my audience knows my story, at least some of it, but I am excited for them to learn yours. So go ahead, Alex. And
Sure.
before you do, I want to offer a care warning. We will be talking about cancer and numerous surgeries and the possible trauma that can occur because of those. So just keep that in mind as Alex shares her story. So go ahead, please.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that framework. Yeah, so I was so excited to be able to share the story because so often when people hear women talk about cancer, there's an automatic assumption that it's breast cancer, and so women are afflicted, and I wind up having to tell people, no, I've not had that, and sometimes feel like I have to apologize because I've had a different type of cancer, and so in 2014, in the summer of 2014, I was diagnosed with a stage 2 melanoma. Actually, when it first got happened, they weren't even sure of the stage. They were unclear of how progressive the disease was because the tumor was actually very large and very advanced and had a lot of indicators for being extremely progressed. So I went into surgery unstaged. So went in for a biopsy of a spot that just was kind of itchy. It was on the back of my thigh, my right thigh. I literally couldn't see it and thought, oh, I guess I'll go to the dermatologist and, got fit myself into an appointment. And he said, okay, I'll see you back in 2 days, 48 hours for your results. And I thought, okay, that seemed atypical. So, but I didn't really think too much of it. I went back in and he said it's as we expected. It is a melanoma, and we can't stage it at this point. He said you need to be in surgery immediately. Within the next 48 hours,
Oh,
you need to
wow.
be in surgery. So I was a little overwhelmed. I happened to be living at the time in Tampa, Florida, where right outside of Moffitt Cancer Center, which is really a world-renowned cancer facility. They were unable to get me in for surgery. They needed about 6 weeks to have one of their own dermatologists corroborate the results before they'd move me in, and we didn't have that much time.
Mhm.
So the
Wow.
staging was at a stage where it could be more advanced if not addressed sooner. So um, fortunately, my mom is a case manager at a hospital in Central Florida, and one of her surgeons agreed to meet with me. So we drove 5 hours up to where she lives and met with her surgeon, and I was in surgery within 72 hours. And so I had about a 6 hour long procedure, fully intubated, as they removed about a softball size mass from the
Wow.
back of my right thigh. So it's very large. It's extends about, I don't know how many inches that is, maybe 7.
Yeah.
So yeah, so had that done. And that was the beginning of kind of a, I would say, a lifelong journey of losing vanity, if you will, over certain aesthetic features of my body.
Yeah.
And so I subsequently have had 56 plus biopsies, skin biopsies, have some fantastic scars from those as well. Have had multiple surgeries, and of course, the big one was on the back of my right thigh.
Wow. So you
So that's a
definitely
little bit of my
qualify for
story.
being on this show. You definitely are a bearer of scars. So
I am.
Um, I want to go back a little bit. You said that you were diagnosed with melanoma, and
Mhm.
I know a lot of people, myself included, think skin cancer when you automatically hear that. But was that the case for you?
Right. So it's interesting because when you hear melanoma, it's labeled as a skin cancer because it typically comes from moles that have turned, if you will. They've gone awry. The cells in them have become malignant. But melanoma is actually it's one of the more dangerous cancers because, and it's actually called the beast, because a melanoma can actually appear on any organ anywhere in the body. So fun fact, Bob Marley died of melanoma. It was growing underneath his toenail.
Oh,
And so yeah, so it actually can return, it can grow, it can become metastatic very quickly, and it can grow anywhere. It doesn't just grow on the skin, which is your largest organ. So mine was a tumor that wound up growing from the surface layer of the epidermis down into the muscle, of the thigh. So the rate at which my skin, my moles, if you will, or freckles, become atypical is very high. So there is familial melanoma. So it's a genetic predisposition. So I do have to be a bit more careful over things. And so people like me wind up doing they're called glamour shots. You get to go to your dermatologist in the birthday suit, and photograph all of your moles so that you can track their progress and be a bit more preventative on the care for them.
wow. So yeah, that's not the kind of photo album I want to keep a track of, but I if you got to do what you got to do, basically. And so,
Yes.
what is the time frame in which these biopsies occurred? Because they didn't all happen at one time, I'm guessing.
No, I went so after the typing, so melanoma starts at a stage 0. My one on my left ear, which we had surgery for that as well. Had plastic surgery for that one. So after that, I went every 90 days to the dermatologist for the first 3 years. So every 90 days, and I moles being removed, skin cells being tested. And after 3 years, I went to every 6 months, and now I'm on an annual basis. So biopsies are a very regular part of my life. I at any moment at the dermatologist, and some of the moles do continue to grow back. And I have one in particular on the bottom of my foot, and it's extremely painful to have it removed on the bottom of your foot, but it's been removed 3 times and it continues to grow back, and it hasn't morphed into anything other than atypical. But so I continue to get those on a regular basis to be seen and to have biopsies. It's part of my life. It's a way of living for me.
Wow. So atypical is different from malignant, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Atypical is just the beginning of the signs start to look on the moles. They look for, is it raised? Does it have texture to it? Is it got uneven borders as it moves around? Is it really dark in color? There are a couple of key indicators that you want to look for specifically with melanoma.
Okay. And what kind of work do you do? Because I know we never really talked about that. Does that have
Sure.
anything to do with these moles?
No, it doesn't. It's actually now I am a Florida girl, born and raised from Florida. So there is if you've had more than 2 major sunburns in your life, you're certainly more susceptible to getting some sorts of skin cancer. Of course, there's basal cell and squamous cell. So those are the two more common types, and those don't stage out. They're just removed, and they don't become metastatic, if you will. But No, my job doesn't do that. But I can tell you that my journey through cancer and my journey in this process has led me to what I do today, which is I'm actually a trauma-informed certified life coach. And
Mm.
my cancer journey has been a very big part of why I moved into that. I subsequently lost my very best friend to metastatic stage 4 breast cancer.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. She passed about 3 years ago. So I had gone through my journey, was, pretty well on the way to recovery when she very quickly was diagnosed. She passed in about 18 months from diagnosis to death. So I've seen that, and that's a different story, but yeah.
Mm. And so how has her struggle and her death affected you? Because I'm sure that, not only, that being best friends alone is traumatic, but how has that maybe affected how you approach your life and your journey and how you talk with people?
Yeah. Best friends you just can't go and get, right? They're people, they're a kindred connection to you.
Mhm.
Um, so when she was diagnosed, it happened very quickly, and I think everybody knew it would turn very quickly. The legacy that she has left me, at the same time she was going through that, my daughter was diagnosed with a really rare autoimmune disease. It's called
Mm.
morphea scleroderma. She was one of 1,500 pediatric cases in the U.S. diagnosed with it, and hers manifested on the body. So while this was my middle child, she was dealing with this. I was visiting my best friend. We lived miles apart. She lived up in Jacksonville and I lived in Fort Lauderdale, so it's about 5 hours. But pretty about every other weekend or once a month, I would drive up there to try to see her through that. I tell you this because the way it impacted me was not so much in the sense that the cancer took her. It was as my daughter was had been diagnosed with this disorder that was kind of disfiguring her body, um, and struggling to get her footing as a 15, 16-year-old going through that, she could see my best friend kind of rejecting reality of her condition and her situation. And it left this indelible impression on her of, I need to be grateful for what I have. I need to make the most of the time that I have and to love the people that are with me as deeply and fiercely as I can. And I need to be brave in the face of this conflict with my body and how I feel about my body, because scars do that to you. It's not just what caused the scars, but it's embracing the change of your body as it comes through the trauma.
Mhm.
And that was the gift that my best friend was able to give my daughter. um, so it was a wonderful experience, and I don't usually cry, but I do miss her, and like I said, you can't just go get a new best friend.
No, no. And again, I'm so sorry for your loss. And
Thank you.
but at the same time, I'm grateful that she was able to endow your daughter with that strength of character and that emotional armor. Because,
Yeah.
as we with scars, we can't stop people from making comments. We can't stop people from their thoughts, and I use humor a lot. When I go swimming and I don't have my shirt on, I have kids staring at me and I say, kids, just make sure you stay away from the pool filter. And so I can do that, but that's because I've learned to use that humor as a defense mechanism, and I don't take it so seriously. But I'm 47. I've had a lot of
Right.
life experience. Your daughter's a teenager and
Hmm.
is going through a much different journey at her time in her life, and so I'm so blessed that your daughter has that gift.
Thank you. I agree. It was a wonderful gift. And, as a parent, you often can't tell teenagers things.
Mhm.
Um, we try to share journeys and experiences with them, but she just left that, on those visits when she was sick and she couldn't. She's like, oh, I'll do a road trip with you, Mom. We would go up and visit Quita, and it was a wonderful experience. And I was with her up until the day before she died. So it was a wonderful experience to be a part of.
So, moving forward,
Yeah.
what are you? I mean, you said that you're a trauma. What was the exact title
Trauma
again?
informed.
Trauma informed life coach. So
Yeah.
obviously you have a lot of experience with the trauma part.
Mhm.
How did you? I mean, what motivated you to start, and how do you interact with your clients on a day-to-day basis?
Okay. So the cancer journey was really interesting because it's very complex. And so kind of at a high level, I divorced in 2018, which really was the catalyst for me moving into doing coaching as a full-time entrepreneur. But when I was diagnosed in 2014, there was an experience when I got the diagnosis. My now ex-husband was with me at the time, and it happened to be a fundraiser night at one of the kids' schools. It was like spaghetti night, right? So we had made this appointment and had squeezed in, and had gotten the diagnosis. And I was kind of shell shocked. Like he said it, and I was like, okay, I'll figure the surgery piece out. But we have to go do this fundraiser. Like we have got to get to our kids' school. We've signed up, we've committed. And I don't know if it was shock or what of it, but we had two separate cars, so I got in the car. And my husband at the time was very, very shook about this. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Well, I'm okay right now. I'll process this in a little bit." And he said, "Well, I'm not okay. I'm going through this too." And I remember thinking, okay, I get that your wife has just been given this cancer diagnosis with a lot of unknown variables, but it felt selfish to bring the attention to him. And I don't know if that was me not meeting an emotional need, but that's how I felt in the time, was that this was selfish. So and we kind of had this undercurrent for a long time in the relationship. So fast forward to 2018, when he actually asked for a divorce, that was really the catalyst for me, to move into being a life coach. I was really able to step into my superpower.
Hmm.
I had sought validation in my ex-husband for many different things, and it had been I had kept myself tethered to him, um, in a codependent way. And if you are familiar with codependency, then that makes sense. And as a codependent, that was a very strong feeling that I had coming out of 2018 in the divorce. So to answer the question, how does this help my clients? So I am certified also as a life coach, and I'm considered a specialist. I've taken additional training and hold certificates in things like depression awareness, CBT therapy, and I use those in conjunction with my personal experiences. So this is one of the experiences. The divorce is another experience. They are traumatic, and every person has some degree of trauma on how they've survived or what they've accomplished, their life story. So for me, m- my life experience and the trauma informed piece is how I help my clients. What it does is it gives me the capacity to navigate between sympathy and empathy. So it's sympathy on related issues and empathy on non-related issues that maybe manifest an emotional problem in the same way. And
Wow.
so that is how I can help my clients navigate.
Have you ever thought about speaking? Because you have a very compelling story and on many levels, and you have a beautiful voice. I would love to see you on a stage sometime. Have you ever considered that?
I thank you so much for that. First, let me just thank you for the flowers. Fun fact, I actually did do a submission for a TEDx. I have a strong level of conviction around our personal core character traits.
Mhm.
I think that as people, part of our journey in life as being humans, is that we all have these fundamental character traits, and yours are different than mine. And that's what makes us so vastly beautiful and unique. And so once you leverage and can find your character traits, if you hold true to those as your barometer, then the decisions you make in life become so much easier. Do these nourish my soul? Do these nourish my business? They're very different. Sometimes they can work together in tandem. So that was my case for TED Talks, but I haven't heard back from them yet. So I hear you. I would love to be able to share the story in a larger forum, larger audience.
Yeah, I would definitely, consider if you feel that pulley, like you said, your spirit is pulled towards different ththings naturally. And I am naturally a speaker. I feel that I do well communicating to a lot of people, and, be it, either because I was a theater minor or because I DJ karaoke or I'm a teacher, I'm comfortable on a stage. And
I think
so,
it's
but if,
because you have an enigmatic personality and a charisma about you that is somewhat infectious,
well,
and
thank you. I appreciate
it
that.
brings joy to you. So I think that that
Yeah.
is a wonderful, wonderful qualities to have.
Yeah. And so if you ever feel that, you ever feel that pull sometime, you can definitely find your audience. And so, but speaking of those, those goals, or that pull towards something else, what is in store for you for the next year or so in the short term?
Oh yeah. So, in store for me, right now I'm on a mission. I'm working on a book. I feel really strongly about getting specific content out around the divorce. I see, it's so interesting. It's a different scar, right? It's not a physical scar that you see. When people find out you're divorced, their first reaction is "I'm sorry," and
Mhm.
I'm always like, "Why? Do I sound like I need an apology?" So I've stopped saying I'm sorry when people tell me they're divorced. I'm always like, congratulations, you're on a new journey. Whether you're excited or you're scared, that's to be expected. So congratulations, you're learning you again, and you're creating a new story, and it's another chapter, if you will, in this dialogue. And so I try to reframe feeling like a victim in a divorce versus, so I have this compelling desire. So that is what it holds for me there. Really being able to help women as they transition through. Body confidence isn't necessarily what I teach, but it is part of the mindset space that I occupy as a coach. So I'm really just focusing on that, and like you said, speaking. I would love to be able to get onto a TED Talks and do those kind of things. So that's what the future holds for me. And what I hope to be able to do is impact other people, much the same way you do with your podcast and this content, and finding other people to have a message to share. That is really where I'm at. That's the journey that I'm on. I'm not brave enough to be on YouTube. Instagram is enough for me. So I do try to push my message out to share for people, because at the end of the day, we all have these experiences, and I always say my body is a roadmap to the victories that I have won. I have stretch marks from a period of time when I thought food was the answer. I have a C-section scar from a child who had a different way of coming into the world than his sisters. And, I have this cancer story. And so I kind of, but it took me a moment to be able to love the skin that I'm in, and to be okay with her as she changes, and as her story progresses, and as I bring new things in. So I, and that isn't a body positivity piece, though it can be interpreted and used in that way. But I more want people to have grace on themselves for the things that they have done, and for the experiences that make us us. Because when we leave this earth, the body will have just been the vessel. And I want to leave a legacy that's more than just the physicality of who I am. It's more the embodiment of the character traits that I have, and the story that I could share. And I at some point hope that that helps somebody on the journey with me.
That is a fantastically beautiful sentiment. I really appreciate you sharing that, Alex. And as we close our conversations, I usually like to ask my guests, what's one more piece of advice or inspiration you want to share? And I think you nailed it without me even asking. So thanks for helping me do my job.
Thank you. Oh, well, thank you for this space. It was very organic and it fit. The energy was matched. So
Well,
thank you.
excellent. So where can people find you if they want to learn more about you or get in contact with you?
Yeah, thank you for asking and for the opportunity. I would love for people to connect with me on Instagram. My name is a little bit long. I'm passionate about my name. There's a story on that as well and why I use that as my business platform. But Alexandrea_NeSmith is where I'm at on Instagram. And so people can connect with me there. I've, of course, got my short form video there. My website is the same thing, alexandreanesmith.com. Any one of your listeners wants to head over to my website, they can click on any one of the golden pink buttons and it will email them a journal, a prompt based journal. It's totally free. So they are welcome to head on over and get that. It's launching a mindset. It's prompt based. So it's 30 days to give them a way to start the self discovery journey.
That's perfect timing as we're going into a new year. We think
Yes.
new year, new you. And so maybe that starts with a new mindset. When I speak, I talk a lot about how where your thoughts go, your mind and body will follow.
Mhm.
So I think that journal is a great way to get those thoughts in the right direction.
Absolutely. Mindset is a hard thing. And that, people always say just change your mindset. And that gets me on a totally different soapbox. But there's not an easy button and there's not a flip to switch. It's a conscious decision every day to choose the state that you decide to be in. And then, if it's okay, Chris, I would share this one last piece and I would just say, people who have visible wounds and scars, not all of us do. Some of us have scars that you can't see and they're as traumatic as the visible ones. But I remember the first time I put on a bathing suit after my scar had healed. I actually wound up with a sepsis, an infection, and so my scar opened up, so it's really wide. Like it's not this little line, like it's massive, and you can see the stitch marks. And I always think like it's like a pirate scar, it commands attention. And
Yes.
so the first time I put on a bathing suit, I was so self-conscious. I thought, oh my God, everyone's going to be looking at the back of my leg. And in reality, nobody was looking at my leg at all. So what I would tell people is oftentimes people aren't looking. And if they are, there's a natural curiosity. And if you can be in an emotional space to be able to say, oh, this is what that is, it informs people to not be afraid, especially kids, right? I've had kids at the beach. They're like, wow, what happened there? Literally, did a shark bite you? And I'm always like, that would be a much better story than the one I have to tell you. So I would just encourage people to embrace it and to own it and be comfortable in it. Don't hide it, don't cover it. It is who you are. It is part of your journey and it's part of your story. And people want to connect with people in a very deep emotional way. And this is your opportunity to be able to do that unfettered and authentically. I felt compelled to share that.
No, thank you for sharing that. And I wholeheartedly agree. When I run races in the summer and actually spring and fall, I will often not wear a shirt because I want to exactly what you said, represent that my imperfection, but also show that, I may have these massive scars, but that doesn't keep me from living my life. And I want to
Yeah.
share that with other people. And I have a phrase that you'll hear at the end of my podcast that exemplifies that you know what? I will never be a model. I will never have a runway to walk down. But if I stay consistent in my actions and diligent in my efforts and I persevere through those tough times, I may reach perfection once in a while, but I'll always be great. And
Exactly.
that's what we should all go for. And it doesn't matter what we do as long as it's, morally, it doesn't
Agreed.
hurt other people, I mean, but we can't let our scars hold us back,
No, you
because
cannot let your scars hold
the
you
only
back. Well, you
person,
can, but there's
yeah,
nothing fruitful that can come from it.
yeah. And you're right. We definitely can. But the only person who's, well, we could hurt, we could hurt other people by keeping ourselves away from them. But ultimately, we're just hindering ourselves. And
Yeah.
so I love that you shared that, because that's something that's what this podcast is about, is bearing our scars, learning from the experiences, and helping others to do the same.
Yeah.
So folks, go check out Alexandrea _NeSmith on Instagram, AlexandreaNeSmith.com on the Webers, on the Webertude, on the interwebs. And one more question I have for you, Alex. What is your favorite dinosaur?
It's my favorite question of all. So I think I told you I had a collection of stuffed dinosaurs as a kid. So I love all the dinosaurs, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the pterodactyl because the pterodactyl is like swift and beautiful and fierce all at once.
I agree. I've had a few pterodactyls, during the show, and so it's fun to hear that. But yeah, I totally agree that watching them in movies, it's so mesmerizing that they are so
Underrated. People
graceful.
are always like, "Oh, it's just a pterodactyl," but usually the pterodactyl is in it for the win.
Oh yeah, and they are huge too. People think
Yeah.
of them as birds. No, they are about the size
Yes.
of a car, and so
Very, very big.
they're very, very majestic and very impressive.
Yes.
Well, Alex, you yourself are very impressive. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your story with us. I greatly appreciate it.
It's been my privilege. Thank you so much for the space.
Definitely. And folks, again, check out Alex on Instagram and Facebook. You can check me out at chrisdtgordon.com to learn more about my story and what I could do to help you and others increase your gratitude, positivity, and resilience. And with that, thank you so much for joining me today. Please have a great day. And remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.